is everybody? Woo! Woo! Thank you, Lord. It's been a while, huh? Yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys. How is everybody? You look good. You look good. Well, He's always faithful, and He's given something super exciting, and I want you guys to really be open to it. Yeah? If you get it, it can change fundamentally how things are in your life from this moment on. And if you're in a great place, there's greater ahead of you. More. Okay? So that's the expectation I hope you're all having. Your heart is open to the new. Yeah? Yeah. So, the confession is we will be people with an open heart, metanoia. We are ready to change our mind today. Yeah? Because as Minoli introduced last week, it is about freedom, financial freedom, prosperity, success. But above all, it is about Him in you. And so I actually call the message, nothing about finance per se. I call the message mind over matter. Because the traditional messages on finance focus too much on the stuff, on the dollars. You could have a lot of money in an account and just be having a poverty mindset. It could be the other way around. You could have a lot. You could have a lot and have a poverty mindset. Or you could be the other way around where you don't have anything in your account, but you are rich. And you have a mindset of being wealthy, prosperous, successful. Yeah? Deborah taught me that. She said much of her life, she didn't necessarily have a bank account to match the way her mind was about prosperity. And that's beautiful. So what I hope I will do, and you guys need to pull on this. It may end up being a mini-series, I don't know, there's so much, and so today may be part 1, and we may have more. Let's see how it goes. But the plan is we establish some truth in this area, as the word says to us. Then, if you don't mind, I want to share a little bit from us, our personal story, our journey. Because it's an interesting one in this area. Minoli and I, and of course, once Peter has arrived in our life, the three of us have a story which has everything about God's goodness, grace, and love in this area in particular. So I want to impart that because this family believes in impartation. Each one of us carries something the other needs. And like any mystical union, marriage, we complete each other. I need Phil, Phil needs me. I need Chris, Chris needs me. And we need each other to become that perfect expression of the Lord. Yeah? So that's why I say the story as it unveils, it will be different to each of you. And it'll come with an impartation. So be open to an impartation. We, as some of you know our story, I mean, we started when Minoli and I went to London soon after we got married. I had just graduated, and maybe 9 months from graduation, we got married. And I went back. Minoli was in Sri Lanka at that time, and brought her. Sorry? Yeah. And today, it's 35 years ago. We got married on the 11th of July, yeah. So, much to celebrate today, yeah. And at the beginning, we had, I remember counting the number of items in our shopping cart, to make sure we had enough. I didn't know Jesus. I didn't have an abundant mindset. I looked at my bank account. That's how we operated. However, yeah, yeah. However, even without knowing Jesus, His grace was on me and Minoli. And from that point to years down the road, how He has brought us through a journey where blessing upon blessing to a place that is the ultimate definition of prosperity, where you have abundance, where you don't worry ever about running out. That you could, in terms of financial resources, I want to go broader than financial resources, as I said, but that He has brought us to a place where what we want to do, we can do without resources ever being a limitation or an obstacle. Amen. Come on. That's a great, great story for Him. Yeah, so anyway, so I want to start with why mind over matter. Maybe it's very obvious to this house because we've had a lot. Peter spoke on Thursday. By the way, thank you, son, for laying a good foundation for some of the stuff I'm going to share. And many of you, Phil, Minoli, Bob, and Deborah, you've all built a foundation at different times. And everybody else has brought the word to this family, has built for this message. So it's great. That's a great foundation. But I want to start by saying you are basically, you and I, are the sum total, our entire life, a sum total of all your thoughts and confessions. Think about that. Think about that. It's a sum total of your thoughts and confessions. And that's why it's so important that we come to this business about thoughts in your heart and watching them. And we've talked about capturing thoughts which shouldn't be in the field, which shouldn't be in your garden, which shouldn't be in your heart. Because from that abundance, you'll make your confession. Yeah? So, as I said, I want to anchor this in the Word. So, let's just, who is Lucy? Lucy. Hi. So, Proverbs 23:7. Actually, it's short enough. I don't need to put it up. You can put Proverbs 4:23. So, 23:7 says this. For as he, or you can say she, thinks in his or her heart, so is he. So as you think in your heart, so is he. Right? And Peter has also written a song about how our thoughts about the Lord is how we see him, is how he will be to us. So the whole thought realm determines everything. Let's look at 4:23. So that one I want to put up. Yeah. So keep your heart with, can I have NIV? I think NIV puts it more plain language. We don't? Oh, okay. Okay, can somebody read? Okay, let me get it up. Proverbs. Because the word will speak, and I want it to speak to you as we go through this. Yeah, 4:23, right? We're looking for 4:23. Yeah. So 4:23 says this. Keep your heart with, I'm also reading. Sorry about that. NIV. I also read the New King James, so yeah. Here's NIV. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Look at that. Keep your mouth free from perversity, meaning, think of it like perversity here, I want you to see it as uttering anything God does not think about you. Not perverse in the, other stuff which comes out of our mouth sometimes. Yeah. Okay. keep corrupt talk far from your lips. So this is establishing that the mind, or the heart as we put it, is everything. So the point I'm trying to undergird here is His Spirit, allow His Spirit to change your thoughts, confession, belief, and your heart. Right? And that is step number one. That is this change of heart, metanoia, repent. Basically, when we first repented and went back to our relationship, reestablished our relationship with the Lord. So the fall brought separation, and then we reestablish that connection, that belief. What we're really saying is, God, you are all sufficient. Not as Eve. So if you remember, in the garden, the first couple were put in the realm of Eden, we said. I think last time I spoke about this. Put them in the realm of Eden, which is permanent state of delight, joy. It is like, I guess if you've been on drugs, it's like a permanent ecstasy journey. You're in continuous, unending, unlimited delight, joy. Yeah? Bliss. So, but that wasn't satisfying for Eve, that she sought something else. So when we go back to this of saying, yes, Lord, I believe, you're actually saying, Lord, you're good and you're sufficient, and everything flows out of my connection with you. Yeah? So, now I want to go to the original design to establish that we were always destined by our design to be prosperous and successful. And I'm putting this in a slightly different way to perhaps how you read it. Let's go to Genesis 1:29. Now this is about seed. This bit of Genesis is about how when God blessed them, talked about his initial, you could call it the commandment, you could call it a blessing, and said, increase, multiply, subdue, fill, basically govern through revelation. But here's how he puts provision, and it's beautiful. He starts by saying, behold, see. When God says see, for me at least, I don't know about you, when I see see, or when I see behold, I pay attention. Because it is through seeing you will perceive and you will get. It's like you're engaging. It's a consummation. Well, I think the right word would be, you're consuming it as opposed to letting it just flow by. You're connecting with it in a special way. So when he said, see, behold, the herbs, or herbs as you guys call it, herbs that yield seed are there for what? For your provision, right? And it is, now the interesting thing is, herbs are coming directly to you as seed. Now we know seed is, by its very definition, meant to multiply, meant to increase. And seed is not stuff you keep. It is no point keeping seed in your pocket. It does nothing for you. You release it. You put it in the ground, and then it has explosive, as Philip prayed, exponential growth. Now I want you to see that in this, maybe previously when you read it, you didn't see it, that the herbs come directly as seed. And it says, yields seed. However, there was a second category, trees. And the trees give you fruit. And the fruit has seed. So there are things which come to you directly, which today we might call money. Post-barter societies, today we call it money. And the other things which come to you, you bear fruit. Could be a business. And then it does have seed in it. Both are important. And what this passage in 29 is saying is, you are blessed with both. Not some people only, in case some thought, oh, I'm not a businessman. I am not really good at this or good at that. No, here was the design. You were intended to be. So if any one of you, my desire as a pastor of each of you, as a papa in the house, is that each of you are immensely successful if you ever choose to put your hand into a business. I want to release an impartation, and I will tell you a couple of stories where you can see what the Lord can do. I don't need to go and read about Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. I have seen the Lord working in my humble circumstances, outsize, exponential, and guess what? In rest. Now, I'm a guy, as my family certainly know and friends know, I know about toil. I know about how to get into serious toil instead of tending, watching, and just, it comes in rest. Yeah, enjoying the garden. I have seen it both ways. I spent the first part of my life doing the toil bit, big time, with no rest, including compromise on my sleep, right? So I know both ways. So I want to tell you a quick story there, if I may, of how, God is so graceful and so patient. So he sees me in my full-blown toil mode, working day and night, and then I'm in that mode. I'm not seeking anything nicer, where you are laid back and in rest. You can make, in bliss and rest, you can get everything. All this seed, all this fruit he talks about. But he, in his grace, reaches out to a guy who was on the board with me in a company. It's a tech company. I was the COO, and he was on the board, and I was also on the board with him, and he knew me from many years ago. So this is like, 5 years later. I'm going to some function, I think, and I get a phone call on my cell phone, and he says, Manju, we've just acquired Sri Lanka's largest, it's huge utility for producing all of the gases, medical and industrial gases, from the Germans, and we were looking for a chairman, and we would like you to, this is a public company, it's a big company. I know nothing about gases or utilities, and whether I'd be their chairman. And I said, yeah, let me think about it, but sounds great. And I say yes, and I become their chairman. And a few months later, back up one, I need to tell you. So without my asking, even though I just go for board meetings and a couple of committee meetings, maybe spend 3 hours a month, maybe 4 hours a month, they structure a wage, not a wage, I should call it an incentive package, which is like, at that time, this is several years ago, was $40,000 just for 3 hours work, basically, a month, right? So I say, oh, well, this is cool. And then the guy, again, without asking, the board meets and the remuneration committee meets, and they say, look, we need to include the executive and the chairman in an incentive package based on profits. And this is a utility where the cash till just ticks, because people have only about 3 or 4 options in the whole country to buy this kind of stuff, and this is the biggest and has the best quality stuff. It was a government-owned thing which had all the best equipment, and so the cash till just ticks. So really, not a lot of effort needs to go to make this kind of money. So on top of this, I get an incentive. 3 months later, I get the World Bank offering me a job here in Washington, D.C. So I'm leaving. And I tell the board about this. They're obviously not that pleased. And what they should have told me is, thank you very much. Okay, no incentive. Your fees are gone. But instead, they asked me whether I could connect from here, well before the established Zoom calling, all of that stuff was, and continue just doing this. And my contribution now even less so, because I'm not physically there to mentor the CEO or any of that, right? I'm not there physically to visit the facilities, but they do that. And they keep even this ratchet arrangement on profits. Now I want to fast forward because I don't want to take too long. But 3 years later, this group sells it to the Scandinavians who bought into this company. And I wanted to step down, and they asked me to continue, but I did step down because the bank, World Bank, wanted me to step down at that point because they were uncomfortable. I had to sign every quarter that there is no conflict of interest. They are not tendering for any of the work of the World Bank, blah, blah, blah. So I was anyway going to step down. But in that transition, I was just gifted, basically, $350,000. Right? Now, I felt almost guilty. If it was Peter, he would have given it back, saying, I shouldn't take this. But I did accept it. And there is a connected story which is very cool too. Well, you know, our Lord is He's the greatest recompenser. Yeah. And there was a business I had. I had a friend who, unfortunately, when money got in the way, and you know, money it brings out, sadly, different sides to people. But anyway, that, again, a long story, but I'll cut it short by saying that guy had cheated me for the same sum of money, down to, I think, probably within like currency conversion kind of difference. Yeah, that's in pounds. So it was basically a disused pub we had found together, and we decided to convert it into apartments. Yeah, I put my hand into all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm a civil engineer, but anyway, that's the only connection to that development. But anyway, we did that, and it would have made several millions of pounds probably had I stayed. But anyway, he owed me 340-ish thousand pounds, and then this came. Isn't that cool? And so believe in these things, guys. These are real stories which have happened in our life of how something comes back. Somebody takes it, and if it is the wrong thing, the just and righteous Lord will recompense. So that's another good. I hadn't intended to tell you that, but it just occurred to me as I was speaking about this. So this business of in rest, in bliss, you still today, right now, can walk into this. And I want to release this kind of impartation to you guys, that you will receive it wherever you are, workplace, this kind of favor. You heard Kirby say, I don't know why, but the Lord has given me deep favor. I don't know why. I don't say I deserve it or anything like that. But what I do know is whatever I have, you can have. you're in the same place, you're the son in the house, and you can have it, right? So there's no such thing as this is only for me. So I released it. I released it on Ramesh and Amy, Steve and Bryn, who have been, by the way, excited. I'm encouraging them to become entrepreneurs. Yeah. Many of you who have spoken, Ron and Emily, so many of you have spoken to me. No, my heart is that you guys would at some point, and some of you already, Rachel already has a business, that you would step into this. And you will see how the Lord can really bless you, your socks off. And the reason I say that is not only from my experience, but I know that wage earners have certain limitations because, there's some norms and there's some, certain increments and certain caps and so on and so forth. So I've been in that game too. I'm right now in a wage earning, but even in that, by the way, we've shared testimonies from here where, I think Lucy and I were one of the very few who got increments through the most difficult time when the bank felt guilty to, the World Bank, felt guilty to give increments. But we had outsized increments. And she's in a completely separate area. I'm in a completely separate area inside the World Bank. And we both had favor because of Papa. He's a good dad. He's a good dad. Yep. So I think that gives us a great place to transition to a principle I wanted to share with you guys. So you're beginning to see that everything we have is a gift. But there are everything. Yeah. But there are two systems. There's the system of mammon, right, which we were enslaved to, hopefully not anymore. And then there is this system God put in place of the gift, right? So, and we as a family here want to get into the flow of the gift. It's a flow. I think, again, Philip talked about a flow. Maybe pre-service prayer. You're talking about a flow. I was thinking, hey, because it's the same spirit, this is coming through Philip. It's so cool. So anyway, we want to get into this flow, the river. And I'm going to come to the river in a second. Because all this, the beauty of all this, is it's in the original design. That's why I keep going back to the original design. My family knows I'm constantly going back to the original design in Genesis 1 and 2, particularly Genesis 1 and 2, reinforced, of course, in the letters, love letters in the Bible, where Paul speaks so much about this. But let me come back to the. So these two masters, and the Bible says that we can't serve both these masters, right? That there is this system. And the mammon system is all about what? Measurement, evaluation. It's that tree of polarization, tree of evaluation, which we ate from. And so that flows into everything if you're in that system. And we've all been in that system. Some of us still serve in that system, but we don't come under it. We have a flow even in the system Mammon has created. But it's important to recognize. So it's all about the stuff, it's all about evaluation, it's a system. Sorry? It's all external. Great. Yeah, exactly. Very true. So what is this gift-based system? Gift-based system is all about looking at the heart, being in that moment. You're really looking at a place, did it give me delight? I will respond in delight. Because that's what the Lord said. He stops, if you remember Genesis 2:1, he stops doing all the work stuff in Genesis 1. And then he goes into this rest, the realm of Eden. And he brings man into that realm, it says. right? He creates man in Genesis 2:7, and in 2:8, he brings him into the realm of Eden. Before he does anything else, he brings him into the realm of Eden. And in that realm, you're not evaluating. You pay in delight, you receive in delight. It's the currency of heaven. Delight, joy, love. So remember, so as we seek the paper money, hey, there is another currency in the house. Paying in joy and in delight, receiving in joy and in delight. No need to grab as the world would have it. You negotiate. You be a hard negotiator, and I have been one, right? My family knows. So you cut a deal. But here, it's not about cutting a deal. Now, how does this look like in practical terms? For me, this is a new thing, right? My other two family members have been flowing in the gift, I think, a lot earlier, because this is an area, my matrix, my ego man, has been much more stronger because of circumstances, experiences. Does that sound familiar? What holds us back from flowing in the gift is all the stuff we call experience. And by the way, the system of mammon values it big time. You put your resume, what is that? Your experience. So I would interview you and say, oh, well, you haven't got what I'm looking for. That's the system of mammon. But actually, the truth is, in the gift, your experience, at least some of them, the bad ones, actually hold you back. So I interview, I'm actually less interested in that kind of experience. I'm interested in the ones which are positive, and I know that positive that I can work with, and that can be the exponential flow. Because if you can't forget every time you failed, and if you can't forget every time it didn't work, that record, as we've said, that record starts to scream at you, and the fresh manna and the fresh mercies, we may sing it, but you can't apprehend it. You can't imbue it. Yeah? So in the gift and the flow, what does it look like? To me, I mean, recently, I just give a recent example. There's a handyman who does some work occasionally for us. I just decided I'll send him some money. Not for any work he's done. I just thought, you know what? I'm going to just bless this guy because he's been a delight to me. And I want to delight him. Now, if I paid him for work done, then it's an evaluation. It's utility value. You're paying then for utility value. That's the system of mammon. It says, so Deborah is worth for me, for the job she did so much. Hourly rate is this. I'll pay her 2 times that because 2 hours work. But the flow, the gift, is you just, Chris delighted me, so I'm going to delight him. So that's the kind of, and I mean, people, I think Pete and Mins love to tip somebody outrageously. Some others give to somebody who wouldn't get a tip, meaning a cashier or the next one in the line, just delighting them. Right? So these are all kind of flow examples. But why, every time we do that, we are establishing kingdom and we are breaking the matrix of mammon. Right? And I believe each time you do that, you chip away and you're releasing a bigger and bigger flow. Now, that's a great segue to jump into the flow. Now, let's look at again, what was the original design on flow? And this might be a big new revelation for you guys. I don't know. Some of you may have seen the same passage the way I saw it. So, Genesis 2:8. Now, Genesis 2, 8 to, yeah, you can put it up, Lucy. King James is fine. New King James. You don't have New King James? Or you have the New King? Okay. So, Genesis 8 is the story where most people would read it as, oh, this was the Garden of Eden being brought into the physical, because in Genesis 1, it was created in God's imagination, and now it's been brought into reality. Hold that thought. That's fine too. You know, the beauty of the Bible is it's many things. It's dimensional. So I'm not saying there isn't a physical garden, but I want you to substitute every place there is a tree mentioned. I want you to substitute thought. My submission to you is what God spoke to me through this passage was, this was, you know, when he, okay, back up one. In 7, when he created man, 2:7, he created man, he created the body out of mud and water. And by the way, our body, our makeup is incredible. I hope you guys know this. But you're made up of everything, every major element on earth, not just only dirt, right? You're a red man for a reason, Adam, right? You are mud because the mist went up, watered the soil, and then he takes you. Water and dirt and the earth. Earth. Yeah, earth. I don't know which one to use because of taxonomy, yeah. And then you have the breath of God, which has Spirit of God, your spirit, and wind. So wind, the element wind came into you right there. And you have spirit, light, also in you. All the major elements of this world, the touch-free sea realm, but also because you are designed for co-location, you have the spirit part of you, the soul, the spirit, which can transcend the touch-free sea. It's cool, right? So I don't want to diminish what happened in 7, but 8 is very cool. So I see 8 as the evolution of your mind. So when you put, for every place there was a tree, God says in this part of the word, these trees were delightful, desirable. So his design of putting you into Eden was to fill your mind. This is your first programming, right, guys? Your first programming, because you're brand new. You're nothing. Your hard disk is empty. Your matrix is empty. And he's putting thoughts which were, you remember, in everything in Genesis 1 was good, and altogether it was very good. So he's putting the altogether, every tree you desire, because you're the guy forming these things. They're not named in this, right? No tree is named in this. You form, but you're forming from everything that is good. Nothing bad in there. But because everything has to have the two, if you made everything good, there has to be the opposite. There is a tree in there. It's mentioned there. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's there. Right? That's the one thing he said, don't go there. But everything else you were given that was delightful. And you were free to eat with any of these, meaning you become one with that, right? When you eat something, so the eating is symbolic here. You eat that thought, and you become one with that. It's like it's a marriage paradigm again. You're consummating your marriage, if you like, when you actually eat it. So you have the tree of knowledge of good and evil out there. You can see it, but you don't know it. You see it, Adam knew Eve, and then they had kids, right? You don't know it, you see it. Did you get that? Chris? Yeah. Now, I say it again. So, because everything universal has to be in there, so this is a field. Basically, your heart, the symbolism here is your heart is the field, and you are allowed any thought you like, and except that one, you can consume it. But because they're all good, you are designed to be constantly eating of delight and joy. Now you get it? Okay. So I don't know whether you guys saw it, but that was what was revealed to me. And I thought it was such a cool revelation. I want to share this with Kirby. I often send him stuff which I get. So,
maybe these are like thought patterns.
Yeah.
Thought structures. And
Yeah.
these fruits are what comes out there.
Yeah. So you're adding an interesting dimension to it about, because of what I said in 29 about seed direct and fruit and the seed in the fruit. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so this is cool enough. Now, I said this is a great segue for river. Now see what comes next. All of man was created in one verse here, but there are 4 or 5 verses about river. It starts with 10. Now, where's 10? Yes. Now, guess what? This river is also coming out of Eden. So it's in a state of what then? Delight. It makes a great, it's quite deliberately saying, now the river went out of Eden. And last time I mentioned to you guys, if I want to water something here, I can't have the water coming out of here. So that's the reason why they're saying it's coming out of Eden. That's because it's coming out of a realm of Eden. And this river is the symbol of when, now we've learned in this house again, when you have a thought and you attach emotion to it, I said emotion, enabling motion, emotion, then you have put intent to it. It becomes will, and there's action, right? So this is all those thoughts in the previous few verses of delight you had, now flowing out. Now flowing out. And each of these rivers in Hebrew have a very interesting meaning. And we look at that. This is something I really found amazing, that they basically reinforce what we read in Genesis 1 with his blessing, that he said, multiply, increase. Each of these names actually mean and reinforce. So the main river comes, as they say, the river comes, riverhead, and then it separates into 4. And those 4 are the very 4 things which God asked man to be. So rivers are a blessing. We know that it's in multiple, whether it be revelations, right through the Bible, river is a blessing. And people who lived on the banks of the river had the most fertile land. So why am I mentioning that in this place I'm sharing is that when we are talking about prosperity, success, God designed it in a way that you will have not only the thoughts in rest that will point you to always success, prosperity, but the river reinforces, because it's synonymous with prosperity, it's saying you will have increase, you will multiply. So if you take each of these, let's take each of these. Is it the next? So I think I don't know whether I've written it down. Maybe I wrote it down. Yes, I did. Yes. So Pishon, which is the first one, Pishon means increase. fat, right? It's explosive. So it is going to be going into a land which is wealthy, and the wealth is revealed. So water was used for what? To drink, to wash, and to irrigate. But this brings a new perspective to it. It also reveals, because when it washed over, it revealed these precious stones. And that's your lot. That's what you're destined for. And when you see it again, as I say, when you see it and you connect with it, you can have it. So when these things are revealed in this house, grab it. Right? Because then it can be yours. It doesn't have to be only mine. I'm sharing this because as it's revealed to me, I'm sharing it with you. Gihon, breaking forth, gushing, birthing new. Wow. Birthing new things, new businesses, innovative ideas, creativity. Because guys, everything around us, did you ever wonder, everything around us is created from the unseen. Everything, this stuff, all of this. Some man innovated, or woman, sorry, man, woman. By the way, to those of you who want to know my stand in this, I go beyond rising of the she. In pre-service prayer, we were joking about this, but this is truly how I feel. You know, the woman was the only being who had God fashioned with his own hands twice. Man, only in a quick one verse in the Bible, in Genesis 2:7, was created, right? And then he takes that rib, if you remember, and he fashions her out of that. So a second time, his hands, in a symbolic sense, his hands shaped the woman. So if there's any argument in the house about who is better, unequivocally the woman. She has had a touch from the Lord, or more than a touch from the Lord, a shaping from the Lord himself twice. Anyway, that is a diversion. Rabbit hole. Come on, back. Right. So the birth, and that's a good place, yes. The woman, the birth, the mother of all living. All of that, when Eve's calling comes out of this, River Gihon. But it's also more broadly talking about prosperity and success. It is about you're made to birth new things. Come on, receive it. Hidakel, blessed. Remember he said, I bless. He created man in Genesis 1 I'm talking about, and he said he blesses them, man and woman. Blesses them, and then he says, increase, multiply, blah, blah, blah. Right? So, Hidakel, be blessed, be consecrated, and Euphrates, be fruitful. So it's strange because I've been pondering on this 4 rivers. It's just mentioned, many people just gloss over it. And I thought, no, nothing in the Bible is there without a reason. I want to get into this. I bet you this is, in fact, when I went in, I jumped into this, I knew it was about blessing. And he showed me, right? So it just wraps up that whole thing about, it has fertility, it has food, it has affluence, it has the dominion, right? So that reinforces again that God blessed us both physically and spiritually. So now you can see it very clearly in the original design. Okay. How are we doing for time, Peter? Because I need to maybe, as I said, it may be two sessions. Hmm?
I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to fall asleep on this. And and you got new revelation. I want that to really settle in your heart. You receive it, and then I want it to be yours. because then you can actually start to see fruit coming out of this, right? Which is the whole point of sharing. So anyway, we are in the gift, we are in the flow, and we've seen that God had intended that from the very beginning. Now, so a few perspectives I want to give you. Before I jump into that, I have written here, I want to share. That's what I said. When water flowed, it revealed those precious stones, and it's a wraparound river. That's also very interesting. See, some of these rivers, it mentions, it just gives the direction. It went south, it went north. Some of the rivers, it gives direction and a place. It names a place. And a lot of the Bible teachers have been so preoccupied with where is this. So the Ethiopians, today we haven't got Mara in the house, we'd be thrilled to know that they have found that Gihon is modern Ethiopia. Yeah? Because it's the Nile. But I have an issue with that because the Nile, as you guys may know, we've got an Egyptian here, or former Egyptian. It flows from the south to the north, not north to the south. So I asked these people who write this, of course they have PhDs and things, so they may know what they're doing, but a simple thing like north to south, south to north. That river flows from the Ethiopian mountains up and goes into Egypt and flows out. But rivers are a blessing, and we'll leave it at that. But yeah, so I wanted to share a couple of other scriptures before we jump into the next bit, which is Jeremiah 29:11. If you can put that on. And Isaiah 55:11. Both are 11, but they're beautiful. And because you really want this to, get into your DNA. I think they can be King James. I hope King James brings it out. Isaiah, whichever one you want to put first. Okay, Jeremiah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
29:11. It's 1.
Yeah, 29:11. Yeah. Yeah, you can you read it, Pete? 29:11, and then Isaiah 55:11.
Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." Do you want a different version? Or is that okay?
That's okay. One of the things I wanted to emphasize there is that thoughts have direction. Sometimes you don't think of it like that. But you can see the word could have said, he has thoughts of you, but he has thoughts towards you. Right? That's how intent is. It has direction. Wow. So those of us who do math like me, an engineer, it's a vector. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, so do you want me to read in the NIV as well, or is that good? That was good, right? Yeah. Okay.
And Isaiah 55:11.
Isaiah. Guys, this is why we need actual Bibles and not the apps. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. Struggling here. Yeah. Okay, is NIV okay?
NIV is okay.
Okay. NIV says, as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but it will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it.
Yeah. So the reason I shared these 4 or 5 passages was that you guys get the unique role of the thoughts and the confessions. So This last one, Isaiah 55, reinforces that our confession goes out and never comes back void. Don't allow it to come back void. Don't expect it to come back void. When I declare something, I expect it to achieve a purpose. And when I've had that, and it's not just a blind faith, if you want to call it that, right? But it is actually repurposing that whole, because what we say is usually coming from your subconscious, right? So, but you're receiving what I'm saying in both places. Your conscious mind, hopefully having a change of mind, and your subconscious. Now, your subconscious has a whole host of things going on there. Your matrix has everything in the collective, like globally, everything in the collective, past, present, future, because it has no recollection or no grid to time. It's not in the chronos, right? So there's all that stuff. So that is like unthinkable amount of things going on there. And then each of us have various circles we have been a part of, if you like, right? And so that all weighs in. And you could say, man, that sounds like too much to change. But it does, by the power of his word. Yeah, the word of his power. Yeah, so that's why we say, be it meditation, we've been taught, I think Pete on Thursday took some of you into how it is to go into the void, go into the stillness. Because that, by the way, yeah, anyway. So go into the stillness, and then you can make changes to that in the subconscious, right? So in this family, we're teaching all of those pieces to practically do these things we're sharing here. And while I'm on that, it's also important to share something I had intended to say today on prosperity, which is that the system of mammon is based on time and space, meaning time you pay, all of us, in at least paid employment and even self-employment. Mostly, we are paid for time. So you give up time. You're giving up every precious day in your life to get some stuff. You can call it space, right? The three-dimensional things. It can be stuff like the stool, stuff like a house, stuff like your money, paper money, or digital money, right? But that's what we are up to. We're giving up time. What does a stillness do? I don't know if you've thought about this. Still, T equals 0 to us math guys, right? You're pulling into a place where chronos is given a pause. So when you give chronos, you're breaking that whole paradigm or correlation between time, space, giving up time. Because one of the things I want you as family to start doing is to value every minute, every day as a calling towards your divine purpose. A calling. He's calling you to a divine purpose. You may ignore it, but if you see it like that, I see success, by the way. I saw success in my early years as the bank account, stuff I had, properties, all of that stuff. But now I see success as divine calling. You come into your divine calling. You have rest. You're enjoying it. You're good at it, like chastity. Good at the graphics, creativity, all of that stuff. And you feel so alive because you come into your divine purpose. That's success. So quick story here. When I was a young man and I had just graduated as an engineer from Imperial College in London, and I wanted my dad to kind of be okay if I wanted to go into business. And he said, son, get yourself a real job. And I did. I was an obedient guy. I went and got myself a job at one of the leading design construction firms in the world. Now, when Pete, so I learned from that. And I headed a company, which was a startup, which went on to become a world beater. And I'll share that, and because that's another aspect I want to share quickly. So when Pete graduated and he wanted to seek his calling and his purpose. I wasn't going to be a dad who said, hey, I'd like you to get a real job. Because he had great management consultancy firms and others who wanted him. But he wanted to pursue his calling. So I thankfully by then knew better to give him the freedom to chase after his dreams. Yeah? Now, some of us haven't had that opportunity, but I wanted to know if your earthly papa didn't see it, your heavenly papa has always had you in the center of his will, center of his heart. And he is saying, come. And he has no perception of time, like it's never too late. So some of you who have spoken to me have said, go for it, even now, or even later, somewhere down the line. Try it out. Yeah. So, yeah. So where was I? Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to then jump into second part, and then maybe keep the third part for another day, so that you guys can chew over what I have shared. Okay. So some of these are from my own personal experience. So, and I hope they will be encouraging. But it comes from a line I love, and I have said this to many of my team members. It goes like this. The greatest tragedy in life is people who have sight but no vision. How many of you have heard that before? Right? So I share this because a lot of our work, which if you're working for somebody, they've given you terms of reference, and it doesn't give you room to connect to a vision you have. But now, some of you, like maybe Steve or somebody who I've had lots of chats with, I have said, hey, you still can create. And I've done that. The World Bank is a very established, large, sprawling, huge organization. But I've established my own vision within their overarching vision, maybe, right? So my teams, I'm constantly encouraging them to see every opportunity to innovate. In that, even in a not so risk-taking, fairly conservative, prudent organization, we innovate, take risks. Because really, for us, there is no risk. Because we have him underwriting. There's a safety net always if we believe in his goodness. The problem is, we don't really believe he's that good. That's why we don't jump, right? So those rivers, if you jumped into those rivers, you'll be carried into those things. Your choice. Your thoughts of delight. Right? Any thought, he didn't give you the thoughts. He said, I'm putting you in delight, and everything is good. There's nothing bad out there, at least at that point. So you love anything, you can have it. That was what the first couple was given. Right? Any thoughts of delight, any thoughts are good, you can have it, you can live it. So I want to share, again, a quick story that this works. This works. Having a vision, and Steve Parlato, when we first went for the first 5 DP, I was telling Steve how when anything is given for me to do, I see the end. I don't know whether everybody does that, but I always see the end. And I start with the end and I work backwards. And it's super graphic for me. Like everything, all the steps, let's come. Right? And if you don't have it, I give it to you. Right? So that's really cool because I already, at the very beginning of a task, have a vision, a canvas. So going back to what success looks like, which is being in your divine calling, if you saw it as a beautiful canvas, each of us are asked to draw our own canvas. And this canvas has colors, and it has brushstrokes, right? And the colors are your thoughts. And your brush strokes, guess what, are your confessions. Right? Putting it to, so it becomes action, becomes action. Thought, color, graphic, action. And the canvas starts to unfold. And this is your personal, beautiful canvas. And the Lord looks at it and he is so pleased. So this is the mental picture I want you to have. And every time from this moment you are given anything to do, just have a vision for it. Small, big, there is a vision. Because he's a vision working Lord and he's in you. You are as he is. You are in his image and likeness. Yeah? And the beauty of this, and I'll tell you the story is, so when I was at an organization which had nothing to, I had no, again, this is an amazing thing. I've had 7 careers, and each of these 7 careers, except the very first one I talked to you about after graduating, I've never put my resume together. They've said, for the file, can you send your resume? So the job offer comes, and then the resume is put as a filing purpose. Good record, good order, record keeping. 7 careers. And so this story is one where I have zero experience again of economic development. I'm an engineer, and at that point, an entrepreneur, the largest software exporting company in South Asia, and now it's the world leader in stock exchange, depository, and trading software. Because Peter worked as well for that as one of his summer internships. So the London Stock Exchange, the world's largest and oldest financial institution, works on my software, or our software. Nobody knows that. That's out of Sri Lanka, right? So, it's a world-beating company. How did it start? It's a startup with a handful of us who dreamed big. Who was it who was saying dream big? Gain Phillips. We were doing a duet before he went up there, said everything. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this job I take, and I'm thinking, I took it because I knew nothing about it. I just like these challenges. So I said, and I had a super job, by the way. At that time, I had stock options in this software company I'm talking to you about. And I had to sell all my stock because my own rules for stock share ownership was that you're given 1 year from departure, and you had to either buy it, and I didn't have enough money to buy my own stock because it was millions of dollars. So I had to let go. It's a big cost to go and do a job you don't even know. And by the way, because it was government, there was instability of whether you would even have a job. Right? So I'm going on contract to this job, don't know anything about the job or its domain area, and I'm giving up permanent employment, where I'm also co-owner. So, but anyway, I've done crazy stuff like that. This is not the first time. One day I'll share a couple of other stories like that. So I go, and I'm sitting and thinking, so how do I go about this? So at that point, the World Bank, who do this kind of work, and globally the leading institution for governments, didn't have even a plan in this area, which is technology. They had tech in government, as Philip might know, but not tech in the many areas of economic development this program wanted. But God gave me amazing downloads. It became the blueprint, and that's how I ended up in the World Bank, by the way. Because they liked that stuff so much. When I left that job, they, again, no resume, said, would you come and help a few other countries do the same thing? And then I came based on that. But who gave me the plan? And so that's why I say, go in the flow. Receive these things I'm sharing so that they will become real to you. So So Stephanie is legal, but in your area, you guys will start to have the kinds of original thought I mean, I'm in meetings and I say something and I'm thinking, really? Is that me? I didn't know that. Okay. Sounds cool. And I'm sure you had moments like that. You're saying something and you don't know, wait a minute. I didn't know that. That's like coming from the subconscious, which God has a connection. You have a union with Him in that realm, right? So it was so cool. And the entire blueprint for that job, and I hired folks, and it became a tremendous success. It's still there today. It took technology to 14,000 villagers, right, who knew nothing about technology. They didn't even know what a computer looks like at that time, since 2003. And all of the ways to impart this to folks who were illiterate. Some people couldn't read or write. How do you get them to use even a keyboard? All of those local languages, local content, nothing there at that time. All came. The Lord download. And it became a whole original piece of work. So I'm just quickly sharing that. Good. And I'm going to give one more and maybe stop there because it's long. And I'll come back, I'll do a part 2 because there's some other good stuff I want to share with you guys. Is that promise? Yeah. I mean, only it's never sure because I say next week, yeah, and then when Saturday comes, she's my replacement. Not due to, I love sharing the word, by the way. I love to teach. I think I'm by nature somebody didactic who just, loves to share and edify and bring you guys up. It excites me no end. And this is true for any team. I have people in my 30 plus years now have worked. I have people from all parts of the world who are now CEOs and heads of companies who write and say, Manju, what you deposited in us is what, as a CEO, today I'm using. I mean, God took me to amazing places I could have never, ever imagined. To be CEO, I mean, advisor to His Excellency, the President of the country. I'm not even a politician, I hate politics. But He raised me in each of these cases like Daniel. So there was a word released to me many, many years ago that you will be a Daniel. And I never thought I'll be a Daniel to other nations. I was a Daniel to my own nation, to the President of the country. And then I was raised to be, so my clients are directly either the Minister of Finance or a line minister, meaning a particular area we are working in, or a prime minister. So in Bhutan, it's a relatively small country, I would speak to the prime minister.
That's now, right? So you went from being Daniel in your own country to now with the world language?
Yeah. So how this word came to be. Yeah. So it's interesting. And I also have had a Joseph word released to me, and that also has been the case where I've been raised to positions I have no qualification, but He's then made me equal to the task. He didn't put me to shame. And I was perhaps naive or partly believing His grace and goodness, a mix of the two. I think I won't pretend to say that I had so much trust in the Lord's goodness that I took these crazy jobs. No, but there was a mix of it. But He's always been faithful. Faithful. Right? Yeah. And as in Hebrews 11:1, it was always now faith. And I didn't allow the past experiences ever to come against what I was trying to do in the future. So that's a secret I can say has certainly been a blessing to me. So I wanted to sum it up like this. Again, another one I share with my team, and I'm sharing again with you guys. So failing to reach a dream is okay, but failing to have a dream to reach is really, I think I would say, even abhorrent to God, because He is a communicator with dreams. He wants us to be dreamers, right? Dreaming is the one place you probably allow the matrix not to hold you back too much. Yeah, because your subconscious is more active. and your conscious mind is not holding you back as much. So these dreams and seeing them and realizing them, dreaming big, again, going back to the dreaming big is something, is a daily thing. It's not a once a lifetime, oh, I had a dream of being this, and that was the dream. No. There are dreams and sub-dreams and more dreams, right? Everything. This church was born out of a dream. The house we live in, Minoli saw in a dream. Exact house. So I was in Kuwait, and she rings me and says, you know that dream last week I saw? I saw the house. It's just come up for sale. I said, then I guess I don't need to see it. You go ahead and buy. Right? The house you guys, many of you have come to, came about like that. The garage, everything, how she saw it in the dream was the house. And it came week after Minoli saw it in the dream. Now, I like to say now, then I didn't see it like that she saw the dream, and then the dream became. You get it? Yeah, you call it. And we were the first to see it, and the last. He didn't have, the seller didn't have anybody else, and we just got it. So, again, I want to say this is real. This is our story. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say one last thing in that part of it, which is about telima, the will. So, a lot of us, I think, have dreams, have good thoughts, even positive confessions, but if you lack the will, see, all of Genesis 1 is about God's will. And what does he do in Genesis 2? He sees it through. So you see from the Papa that he has telema, will to push through. So that's a God-given thing. But I mean, I share this often with Pete. Put the will, because will is will in the world is the last act. It's the thing you leave, but it's action oriented. It's what people get from, say, your inheritance, whatever, right? It's always action oriented. So even if the thoughts are there, even if the emotion is put into it, but if you didn't apply well, there'll be resistance. So next time I expand this, I will share about giving permission. You give permission for the things of God to happen. Because there are forces now in the fallen world. There are forces which are stopping His will, which aligns with your will, from seeing it through. But we have the power for that too, right? When He says, let there be light, I just give you a preview. Let there be light. What is He saying? Let light come forth. He's giving permission. And we need to do that too. I'll come back to that because there's another whole part I want to share with you guys, which will again be activation of what we've learned today. So let me stop there. But I want to pray for you guys. And by the way, you can come up for prayer as well. I want to pray that these thoughts of God I was privileged to release to you today will have a change of heart in you. Will find a real, powerful rhema resting place in your heart. That they will release a flow, a gushing, a speedy river, all of which, the gushing, the birthing, the rapids, all of that which you were destined for will come forth from this day on in every area of your life. That your canvas will start, if it hasn't already, your canvas beautiful with every color and hue which pleases God, which gives you delight, which gives him delight, will start to manifest here right now, here in the physical. It's always been there in the unseen, but that you'll be inspired. You see the vision, have the dreams, and that it'll come forth in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen. So I give you that in supercharged joy. Because that's the ether in this, right? The joy. Because joy, delight, the currency of heaven. Yeah? So remember that. Yeah? All right. Thank you, guys. Have a blessed week. I love you, and I'm loving even the things you're going to be sharing, the testimonies which are going to come. Remember, Hebrews 11, 1-3. Read that. Take it in. Now faith. Now faith. Don't worry about yesterday. It's only a memory. Particularly the bad ones. Just forget about it. It's only a memory. It's only a frequency. Right? Today, now faith. And start to do what you are made to do. Create. Form. And you characterize it. Hallelujah. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your patience. It was a long session, but I enjoyed teaching it. And God bless you.